We got to justify that cost. All right, I know how it works. Or you've paid out that money and you want a good old pat on the back. Well, you've come to the right place. This is Couch Coop, and this is the top 5 reasons to own that massive white PlayStation 5. Top tier, buy the one that takes the disc. Do not slip into that digital only nightmare. I've got a very important video about that coming up. This video is about software as opposed to hardware. We have seen the split edition of the PlayStation 5 arrive and the PlayStation VR 2. I was a big fan of the original VR system for the PlayStation 4, and of course they've just pushed out the portable, which I'm a bit hot and cold with because I still play my Vita. And it's away from the machine. It's essentially got a Stadia style DRM on it, meaning it has to talk to the internet and you'll face lag if there's a bad connection, i.e. anywhere outside of your house. This year I will say, and you might follow me on Twitter, I often troll people who are still into the console wars because the PlayStation Network didn't have its strongest year, I don't feel, against what Game Pass gave us on day one. True connoisseur of the industry does not get salty with brand types. You had High on Life, Lies of P, Atomic Heart, Wulong, Hi-Fi Rush. These are undeniable, brilliant day one releases. You stick your favourite PSN day one release in the comments. So when you're going to buy your Xbox then? Fuck that. Let's get started. This is a ranked list, and in at number 5 is GT7, a game I absolutely adore on a single player level. I think it's got the coolest campaign and a sort of look back at that structure that the previous games gave us way back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Replay sport, true ray tracing, and of course 30 frames per second, and it's got some 4K race modes in it. It's got the best looking car models against its competitors I feel on the market. This is Forza Motorsport's New Yas Marina Circuit DLC. Literally about a week ago this was put in. Back to that brand loyalty thing, I don't have any, okay? If a game looks bad, doesn't matter what side of the fence it's on, I'll show it to you. Or if a game's really good, I'm not going to ignore it because it's on a system that's not part of my brand allegiance. Get back to GT7, I play a lot of racing games. This one's a market leader because of its top-end physics and its flawless simulation conversion, meaning you can get the wheel, you can get the pedals. More importantly, it's one of the more spectacular games on that PSVR 2. Probably the flagship title for that whole piece of hardware. Kratos swaggers in with the delectable Ragnarok, a game that really made my eyeballs actually bleed on first playthrough. This is the most stunning third-person ARPG on the market. That is full stop. Nothing is more visually lavish than this God of War game. Santa Monica are so damn good at optimizing Sony machines, right? The original God of War broke loads of visual molds, and this one is no different. It's also quite deep with all of its mechanics, enemy type, armors. There is a lot of depth.
What are you doing?
Bought in a couple of modes, including a performance mode, 60 frames per second, but unfortunately not much higher than 1080, but it has got a beautiful 30 frames per second quality mode. If you're a fan of photo modes or just high detail on environments, looking at just spectacular level design and creature design, then God of War is going to hit the nail on the head.
I don't know.
Then perhaps you shouldn't pick one.
I have a real soft spot for the previous God of War because of its cool story, because of the dynamic between you and the son. It was a very cool thing and they carried it over flawlessly, just made it bigger, better, deeper with a lot of the interactions and some really cool, new, interesting characters. Just this combat, I play a lot of third-person ARPGs and this keeps up with all of them. What a piece of software Ragnarok is. Okay, it's time for Insomniac's first game in the form of Ratchet and Clank Rifts Apart. Hilarious story with this, and if again you're on Twitter, you'll realise that when this was released on PC, it was released on the HD drive, which then caused Xbox to be up in arms that this game didn't require an SSD to run, and it turns out it just runs like crap. The solid state drive is an absolute essential to this game running properly. It's just a graphical mammoth. It come out quite early in PlayStation 5's life cycle, particularly for an exclusive. At the time, this was technically only the second exclusive on the system, so I snapped it up immediately, and I just will never forget the night I first played it. I was like, oh my god, I really feel like I'm in the 10th generation. Ratchet and Clank will definitely make you feel that way. Games we've seen so far are technically not going to appeal to the entire family or the missus, sexist, but this is perfectly dished out to everybody. Not a huge amount of violence, really incredible. The animations are Pixar level of quality, and that goes to all of the designs of the backdrops and the enemies you fight, including their dialogue and everyone else's dialogue. It's just a very funny game, as well as one of the best looking on the entire system. Only technically 3 PlayStation 5 exclusives on this list, including this one. And I want to keep away from the sort of doom and gloom because we're coming to the end of the year. 2024 is going to be different. I just would have loved to have seen a lot more of this sort of stuff.
Oh, wow. Oh, no.
With almost photo-real-like environments, Horizon Forbidden West comes bowling in. The Burning Shores DLC we're going to look at as well, that is a PlayStation 5 exclusive, but the base game isn't. There are going to be some honorees on this list at the end of games that gave us PlayStation 5 SSD upgrades. I made a whole video about them all, but there's some that really need a mention. And there's also games that are out there charging for the upgrade, and this is one of them. Didn't mind because of the leap was so huge, but I can remember a time when there was a stigma attached to that, and that's now just been pushed away. We've just seen The Last of Us Part 2 remastered with a charge put on it, and I own that physical on the PlayStation 4, so things are just a bit strange out there at the moment. Burning Shores features one of the biggest finale boss fights I've ever seen, and one of the more spectacular. It must be using the majority of that system's power. I'm obviously not going to push you through that major spoiler territory, but if you're a fan of the series, the purchase for getting this DLC is not a bad idea, particularly if you own a PlayStation 5, because that would be the only way to play it, obviously.
Leave it alone. Now what else is going on?
Spidey comes swinging in. This is the second Insomniac game on the list, and it was a brilliant homage to the prequel, which is essentially Spider-Man 1, and there is the Miles Morales game available on the 5. This is more of what we loved in that original game, and we've also seen some development from great characters and some of the best boss fights and huge names from the comic series making a feature in this game.
Last step is to decrypt the key. Give it a shot. Don't cheat. Take your time.
Done.
Not bad, kid.
Making these games was a tough job. The combat and the traversal mechanics and the map size, they had to be up with all the rest of its competitors. So you're looking at stuff like Arkham Asylum, or even a map the size of GTA, and they kind of met them all right at eye level. I feel this game can hold its own on the combat. The exploration and enjoying that open world is next to any other city game that's out there.
You should be seeing how to get inside now.
You might be noticing a watermark. This is a guest YouTuber under the name of Red Eye Samurai. I've just been informed that it is UB Gaming as well. I'm going to put all of the links in that description. It's certainly somebody who appreciates a good capture, and there's no blabbering over it all.
This isn't the only stash.
Unk.
Whoever freed Lee sounds like my tech is right up their alley. Want it falling in the wrong hands.
This was also a much needed exclusive. The year had been quite dry, and looking forward to this, seeing it come out and seeing it perform very well really warmed the cockles. No massive bugs or any glitches on launch. I know there was a few with that map, but you've got to expect that with something this epic in size. Honorees in the form of Remnant from the Ashes 2, barely a nod at the Game Awards. This is one of the best Souls-like action ARPGs ever created, and a brilliant sequel to an excellent original game. Man, I wish they got more recognition for this year. They've all been standalone reviewed by myself. I will put links and annotations directly to it. The game is absolutely ridiculous now. The Witcher 3 patch 4.02 gave us free SSD upgrade for the entire game. I'm looking right at you, Horizon Zero Dawn, and all the rest of you, £10 for the upgrade. This costs nothing, and it's just a facelift to say the least. Link in annotation.
Attention, stupid pacifist monks! This is Oppressor Trunt. It's not just a title, oppression is my profession.
Still completely blown away by this game. This is Borderlands 3 and it's the split screen PlayStation 5 version. It's a mind blower and it was free again. Druckmann, what are you up to? Gearbox don't always do us proud. Don't even get me started on Randy Pitchford, but Borderlands 3, we gotta acknowledge it. And if you haven't bought a PlayStation 5 and you love split screen shooters, wow, you are in for a treat.
Personal log. And if any of you statue polishers are listening to this, you're gonna get what's coming to you.
She is. Do you know what her name is? I do. I had to do the top women in gaming video. It was an amazing experience, to be fair. I'm surprised you guys don't know who this is. Bloody misogynists. Is Celine Vassos, and this is Returnal, and it's my final pick for the top 5 reasons to own a PlayStation 5. We have a very convoluted relationship with this game. I am Housemarque's biggest fan. I challenge anyone out there on that. If you want to have a Housemarque off, let's do it. It took me 6 months to get past the first boss. You might be aware of that debacle. Locked up about 40 hours in the game as well. If you're going to own one game on your PlayStation 5, then this one will last you a hell of a long time. 40 hours just in the first biome, the first level. How did that not send you insane? Well, this brings me to its major selling point. And this into words is going to be quite difficult. I can see it in my brain. So roguelikes are games that switch out what happens in a level when you play them. There'll be different options for the code to slot in so that your experience isn't always the same. Returnal's roguelike options are massive. The tiles choice is very varies, meaning that your experience is very much mixed up regardless of what level you're on, and that just breeds replayability and not getting bored with it. Power of the machine gives it the ability to give you these massive variants on arenas, various guns and drops, mini bosses, traps. This game's like a schizophrenic. You never know who you've got when you log in, and that's why 40 hours just flew by, and bashing my head against that boss wasn't too much of an issue. But yeah, I'm on level 2 now. Regulars, you know I love you lot, and can you get in the comments and start taking the mick out of my Returnal performance, please? I have been Couch Coop. I'll see you down there.